If you're even thinking about a 55 plus community lifestyle, before you visit one, before you even talk to a sales rep, there are 7 things you need to know first. These communities are marketed beautifully. The brochures show smiling couples playing pickleball, gorgeous pools, manicured pathways. And honestly, some of them are genuinely lovely. And some of them aren't. And the ones that aren't can turn into one of the most expensive mistakes you'll ever make. And I'm not here to scare you off altogether. What I'm here to do is to make sure you go in with your eyes wide open, because what's in those brochures is not always what's behind the gates. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 things that sales teams will never bring up with you. Some of them are practical, some of them are about money, and the last 2, those are the ones I want my own family to know before they sign anything. So every 55 plus community operates under a set of rules, and I do mean a set. These can run into dozens of pages. Before you ever make an offer, you want to get your hands on 3 specific documents: the budget, the board minutes, and any covenants or declaration. Don't skip this step. This is where the real picture lives. The rules themselves can cover almost anything. What kind of pets are allowed? And that doesn't just mean dogs or cats. I mean, it means size restrictions, breed restrictions, how many pets you're allowed. I've seen communities where you couldn't have a dog over 20 pounds. So if you have a lab, you're done before you even start your search. And vehicles are another one. How many vehicles can you have on the property? Are RVs allowed? What about a boat or a boat trailer? Some won't permit them anywhere on site, not even temporarily. And then there are grandchildren rules. Yes, that's a real thing. Some have limits on how long children can visit and how many can be on the property at once. So if your grandkids come for, let's say, a week or 2 every summer or longer, you want to know if that actually is permitted. These rules aren't bad and in and of themselves. They exist to keep things running, to keep things smooth and consistent. But if they conflict with how you actually want to live, that's something you need to know before you move in, not after the fact. The brochures show friendly, welcoming neighbors, right? Happy couples, people having a great time together. And some places are really like that, and not all of them are. It's one of the most common surprises I've been told about time after time. Was actually an American survey of 281 residents, and 47% of them said they were dissatisfied with at least one neighbor. Nearly half, that's nearly half. And the behaviors they described range from rude and overbearing to genuinely unpleasant. Here's the thing: moving in doesn't change who you are. If someone was cranky and difficult before they arrived, they're going to be cranky and difficult after. And if you're moving into this kind of close-knit environment, hoping it's going to be all sunshine and social events, just going in knowing that that person factor is real, and it's definitely worth thinking about. Now, connected to that is something I call the high school effect. I know that sounds strange when we're talking about people in their 60s and 70s and perhaps older, but I've read about people describing life in these communities in exactly those terms. There can be, cliques, and there can be social hierarchies. There can be people who have lived there for 10 years and make it clear to newcomers that there is an order of things among the community. And bullying happens, jockeying for social status happens. It's not universal, but it's real enough that it's worth knowing about and thinking about before you move in. If you're someone who's quite independent, who doesn't really need a lot of social connection, or who doesn't love group dynamics, a tight-knit environment might feel more suffocating than supportive to you. And that's not a flaw in you. It's just a personality fit question that's worth asking and being honest about. So I'll keep this one brief, but it does deserve a mention because I've had it mentioned to me several times already. If you're single and thinking that moving in might open up your social life in, let's say, a romantic sense, it's worth knowing that the gender ratio in most of these places skews quite heavily toward women. We're talking roughly 3 women to every man in many of these communities. So that's not a reason to avoid one, but it's worth knowing what the actual picture looks like before you arrive with expectations that don't match the actual reality. And stick with me because the next four are the ones I really want you to understand before you make any decisions. A lot of people are drawn to these communities partly because they feel safer. Gated entrances, security features, a sense of looking out for each other, and there's something very real to that fact. And they are not immune to crime, not even close. Property crime happens, domestic situations happen. And if you're relying on the gate to do all the work, you may be giving yourself a false sense of security. The same common sense precautions you take anywhere else apply in a lifestyle community as well. I'm not trying to alarm you by any means. I'm just making sure you don't let the gated feeling substitute for actually checking out the specific community's track record. This one has become more relevant in the last few years, and I don't think it gets talked about quite enough. These are real people with real opinions and political divisions. We've all seen enough of that in the news and can create real tensions between neighbors, particularly when you're seeing the same people every single day. So, beyond politics, there's lifestyle culture more broadly. Some have very active social party forward cultures, event group dinners, organized activities almost every evening. For some people, that's the dream. For others, it becomes exhausting within, the first 6 months. So before you commit, try to get a genuine feel for the culture of that specific place. Not the marketing version, but the actual version. Talk to people who live there. Visit on a weekday afternoon, not just on the official open house day or over a weekend. You want something that fits who you actually are, not who the brochure imagines you to be. Now, we're getting to the ones I really want you to pay attention to. The management of the community, in many ways, is the most important factor in how well it actually runs. And it's the one thing that almost is impossible to see from the outside. High staff turnover is a major red flag. If the manager has changed 3 times in, let's say, the last 4 years, that tells you something. Instability at the top leads to inconsistent decisions, things falling through the cracks, and a place that doesn't have a clear direction. If you're looking at a newer development, be especially careful. Developers paint a very specific picture during the sales process. Once the units are sold, they often step back, and the ongoing reality can look very different from what was promised. I've read about buyers feeling abandoned after the sale, like the community they bought into and the one they actually moved into were two different places. And here are some specific questions to ask before you buy. How long has the current manager been in their role? How long did the previous one stay? What has the fee increase been over the last 3 to 5 years? That last question is critical for planning your finances. If fees have been going up 5, 8%, even 10%, you need to factor that into your budget now, not be surprised by it later. And this brings me to the last one. And honestly, this might be the most financially significant thing I'll say in this whole video. There are monthly fees. You know that going in. But what a lot of people don't think through carefully enough is how those fees can grow and what you're actually paying for. I've been in real estate for quite a while now, and I've never seen fees go down. The amenities are often part of the appeal. It's a pool, a pickleball court, fitness center, dining room perhaps, and they're great right now when you're active and using them. What happens in 10 years if your health changes or you're not using the pool or the courts anymore? In most cases, the fees don't stop. You pay for them whether you use them or not. Some include a dining room as part of the package, meaning there may be an expectation that you use it in a certain number of times per month. I've actually read about a couple who found the dining room culture so uncomfortable. People, they felt were like in their business, pressure around seats and tables, that they'd rather eat out every night rather than be in this situation. But they were still paying for it regardless. So here's what I want you to understand. Fees are not like rent control here in Ontario. There is no cap. They go up. Ask specifically what the fee increase has been year over year for the last 5 years, and ask where that money goes. Is the place financially healthy? Or are they dipping into reserves to cover costs? You want to see the budget. Don't just take someone's word for it. Look at the numbers yourself and have someone you trust look at them with you. Look, these communities genuinely work well for a lot of people. I'm not here to tell you that they're all bad. What I'm telling you is that they're not all the same, and the brochure version and the lived-in version can be quite different at different times. The questions you ask before you buy are what determine whether you're moving into a life you pictured or spending the next few years trying to get out of a decision that doesn't fit you or your lifestyle. So take your time, talk to people who actually live there, read the documents, ask the hard questions about fees, management, and culture. If it's the right fit, all of that due diligence will only make you more confident in your decision. And if you're thinking about what comes after the family home, not just where you're going, but how you actually get there, that process has a lot more to it than most people realize.